There are souls born carrying a kind of light unlike any other, not dazzling, but deep and still. They are empaths, gifted with the ability to see the cracks in another person's soul and feel an unspoken urge to mend them. They sense pain not through words, but through silence. They love with a heart so vast that they forget the boundary between understanding and self-sacrifice. They believe that if they are kind enough, patient enough, and loving enough, they can calm the storm inside someone else. The purer their light becomes, the more darkness is drawn to it for illumination. Like a lantern in the night that attracts lost moths, their energy unconsciously pulls in unhealed souls, those who carry emptiness within and long to be reflected. The empath becomes an invisible magnet to the narcissist. While the narcissist sees in them a mirror that exposes their own shadow, they find each other like two poles of the same current, one giving, the other taking. At first, the connection feels magnetic, almost fated, but soon it turns into a collision between two worlds, where love becomes a battlefield between the desire for redemption and the fear of abandonment. The universe does not send the narcissist to punish the empath. On the contrary, it is a carefully designed lesson of the soul. The narcissist does not come to love, but to reflect. They force the empath to confront what they have long avoided: the fear of being left behind, the kindness without boundaries, and the mistaken belief that love must involve suffering. And one day, when the empath learns to stop trying to rescue others, to stop enduring in silence, and to start listening to themselves, the universe shifts its frequency. The right person will appear not to be healed, but to heal together. Yet before that moment, the empath must pass through the trial of the soul to meet a narcissist, so that they may finally learn how to love without losing themselves. When the narcissist enters the life of the empath, at first, when the narcissist steps into the life of an empath, they do not arrive like a storm, loud and destructive, but like the gentle light of dawn after a long, lonely night. They make you believe that the universe has finally sent you someone who understands you, someone who shares your frequency, your emotions, your belief in deep and meaningful love. They observe you intently, listen to every detail, and mirror back the parts of you you've always longed for others to see. They say the words you once wished to hear, touch the wounds you thought had long fallen asleep. And so, the empath who always wants to believe in goodness begins to open their heart, not because they are convinced, but because their soul recognizes something hauntingly familiar. What the empath does not realize, however, is that the narcissist is also recognizing something similar, only with a different intention. If the empath feels to connect, the narcissist feels to possess. They see your light and cannot look away. Not because they love it, but because they want to own it. To them, love is not companionship but power, not healing but control. And so they move closer softly, precisely like a psychological artist testing the strings of emotion. At this stage, the empath feels seen for the very first time. They feel heard, cherished, and respected. They believe they have met the one, a kindred spirit. But in truth, this is the phase in which the narcissist constructs the perfect mirror, reflecting the ideal version of yourself that you most want to believe is real. They do not love you, they imitate you. They speak your language, laugh as you do, like the things you like. Everything feels destined, but in reality, it is a careful imitation, crafted to strike at the deepest chords of your heart. To the empath, the relationship feels like a miracle. But to the narcissist, it is a performance. They test how you react, what you need, what you fear to lose, and piece by piece, they begin to take those very things away. Once you trust completely, once your guard is down, they change. The tenderness turns to indifference. The care becomes control. The admiration morphs into subtle humiliation. And the empath, with all their kindness, patience, and ability to rationalize, starts to excuse the pain. They think he's just hurt, or she just needs more understanding, and so they stay not out of foolishness, but compassion. Yet it is precisely that compassion that traps them in the most dangerous illusion of love, the attempt to heal someone who does not want to be healed. The empath does not realize that each time they soothe an outburst, yield to coldness, or forgive words that cut deep, they are teaching the narcissist that love equals endurance. And thus the cycle begins. The more they give, the more they lose themselves. Beneath the surface of love, there runs a hidden current, the current of energy, where one gives endlessly and the other endlessly takes. The empath calls it sacrifice, the narcissist calls it power. And between these two definitions, love starts to deform, becoming emotional dependency. The empath loves with faith, the narcissist loves with possession. One believes they can save another, while the other believes they can control. And then, when light meets shadow, the inevitable happens. Either the light is extinguished, or it learns to burn brighter. When love becomes pain, and then, when love turns into pain, the empath rarely realizes it right away. They tell themselves it's just a phase, a misunderstanding, a test of endurance, something every relationship must go through. But what they don't know is that while they are trying to mend what's broken, the narcissist is quietly enjoying the power that comes from watching someone else fall apart because of them. The sweetness that once defined the relationship slowly fades, replaced by cold silences, sharp words that cut like blades, and moments of being treated as if they were invisible. Each time the empath is hurt, they don't walk away, they try to understand more, to love harder, to prove that love is strong enough to save them both. At this point, love is no longer a gentle current but a storm. The empath swings between two extremes. When the narcissist is kind, they feel reborn. When the narcissist withdraws, they feel shattered. Their heart becomes a pendulum swinging endlessly between hope and despair. Each time the narcissist returns after an outburst, the empath mistakes it for a sign of true love, when in truth, it's simply the narcissist's way of recharging their supply, ensuring that the empath is still there, still believing, still willing to give. Living through emotions, the empath begins to doubt their own intuition. They start asking themselves, am I too sensitive? Am I asking for too much? Am I not good enough? And with each question, they lose a little more faith in themselves. The narcissist, with subtle precision, plants the seeds of guilt and shame, making the empath believe that every problem, every wound, is somehow their fault. This is the most dangerous form of psychological manipulation, transforming the victim into the one who feels responsible for their own pain. And so, the empath begins to live in emotional survival mode. They study every small change in the narcissist, the tone of voice, the look in their eyes, even their breathing as warning signals. They learn to stay quiet to avoid conflict, to smile even when breaking inside, to apologize even when they've done nothing wrong. They think these sacrifices will preserve love, but in truth, they are trading their identity for an illusion. Love, at this point, is no longer a sanctuary but a battlefield. The empath offers their heart as a shield, while the narcissist wields affection like a double-edged sword. One fights to preserve connection, the other fights to preserve control. And in this battle, the deepest pain is not in being hurt, it is in realizing you're still staying, even when you know you're being destroyed. Yet deep within the soul, the universe is silently watching, because it is in the very moment the empath hits the bottom of their pain that awakening begins. When every promise dissolves, when every ounce of kindness has been exploited, the empath starts to see the truth that not everything that looks like love is love. Some love is built from light, and some from shadow. And to find the real kind, the one born from truth, the soul must sometimes walk through darkness, where false love is stripped away, and one learns the lesson every empath must eventually face, that to love does not mean to suffer. When the empath has suffered enough and learns to walk away, and then one day, no one can endure a love that slowly makes them lose themselves. The empath is no exception. They stay, not because they are foolish, but because their heart believes in redemption. They believe that if they love long enough, deep enough, sincerely enough, the other person will change. They believe that if they endure a little more pain, hold on a little longer, forgive one more time, love will somehow be saved. But love is not what gets saved. It is the empath who slowly falls apart. Eventually, the pain becomes unbearable. It's no longer about surface wounds, but an exhaustion that reaches deep into the soul. They begin to feel like strangers to themselves. The person who once laughed brightly now only knows silence. The one who once loved life now fears the sunrise. The healer of others now bleeds quietly in the dark. That is when the soul begins to whisper, "Enough." The empath doesn't leave in anger, they leave in exhaustion. Not because they have stopped loving, but because they have loved too much. They no longer need apologies or promises, they just need peace. They need to breathe again, to exist as themselves, not as a distorted version molded to please someone else. Walking away, for them, is not betrayal. It is an act of self-preservation. At first, they feel empty. People will say, "Why did you leave? Why didn't you try harder?" But only the empath knows they have already tried too hard. They stayed when they should have walked away. They forgave what should never have been forgiven. They tried to save someone who didn't want to be saved. And in the end, they realize staying is no longer love, it is self-destruction. In the process of leaving, they go through an intense inner battle, because for the empath, love has never been something simple. It is instinct, purpose, and the way they connect with the world. They feel guilty for choosing themselves. They ache for letting go of the person who once meant everything. But with each tear that falls, they are crossing an invisible threshold from blind love to conscious love. When the empath finally walks away, they don't need to say goodbye. They fall silent, but that silence echoes. It is not the silence of avoidance, but the silence of awakening. They see every pattern, every manipulation, every game, and they no longer react. In that exact moment, the narcissist's power collapses. For their strength never lay in control, but in their ability to provoke a reaction. When the empath stops reacting, the narcissist loses their stage. For the empath, walking away is not just the end of a relationship, it is the beginning of a return to self. They learn to love without rescuing, to give without losing, and to forgive without surrendering their dignity. That is the lesson the universe sends them, that true love does not make us smaller, it makes us whole. And when they finally walk away, not with a broken heart, but with a soul reborn, they understand that the universe never takes anything away without preparing something far greater in return. The narcissist was only the final test, the moment the empath realizes that their light never needed anyone else to shine. When the empath awakens, in the end, after all the heartbreak, the empath does not awaken in the light, but in the quiet darkness of their own soul. They have walked through a war, not between two people, but between love and fear. When every wound has drained their strength, when every promise has faded into the wind, they begin to hear a small voice deep within, gentle yet unwavering. It's time to stop. Not because they have stopped loving, but because they finally understand that love cannot coexist with pain forever. In the first days after walking away, they feel like someone learning to breathe again. Everything is painfully silent. No more messages, no more constant tension, no more need to monitor another person's emotions. In its place, there is an empty space, and within that space, their soul begins to heal. They realize they have lived far too long in emotional survival mode, where they had to guess others' feelings to be loved, where they endured pain to maintain a fragile peace. Now, without having to play a role, they can finally live. The empath learns to love again, but this time without attachment. They no longer seek approval or praise to feel enough. They no longer give to be loved in return or rescue others to feel worthy. They understand that loving someone does not mean carrying their burdens, but growing alongside them. They no longer need to be anyone's light, because they have become the light for themselves. And then, something miraculous happens. When they stop chasing love, love finds them. Not the kind that burns like wildfire, but the kind that glows like morning light, warm, real, and asking for nothing. The universe shifts its frequency around them. They begin to attract kindred souls, people who do not seek to possess, but to expand together. In these new connections, there are no power games, no need to win or lose. There are only two souls choosing to stay, not out of need, but out of harmony. Once awakened, the empath looks back on their past with new eyes. There is no resentment, no anger, only gratitude, not for the pain itself, but for what it revealed. They thank the narcissist not for the damage, but for the mirror they held up, reflecting the weakest, most unhealed parts within. The narcissist was never truly a destroyer, but a mirror forcing them to confront and evolve. And once the empath has seen that truth, they can never go back. When love is no longer about holding on, it becomes freedom. Not the freedom to leave, but the freedom to stay and remain whole. The awakened empath no longer fears loss, for they know that losing someone is never as frightening as losing oneself. They love without dependence, give without depletion, and stay without sacrificing their identity. And in that sacred state where love and freedom meet, they finally touch the divine truth. Love is no longer a bond, but the expansion of the soul. Why the universe sends a narcissist to an empath? And if you've ever loved until you were exhausted, perhaps you'll understand sometimes the universe doesn't send us the right person, it sends us the one who awakens us. Someone who arrives as a test, touches wounds we thought had healed, and breaks open the things we've tried so hard to forget. They do not come to stay, but to help us see the shadow within ourselves. Empaths are often beautiful souls they love deeply, feel intensely, and genuinely believe that with enough love, they can heal anything. Yet that very belief makes them magnets for unhealed souls, the narcissists. Between them lies an inexplicable attraction. One gives endlessly, the other only knows how to take. One sees light in the other, while the other sees a chance to be warmed by it. Then, that love becomes a mirror. In its reflection, the empath realizes that they did not love for peace, but out of fear of abandonment. They gave, not from wholeness, but from the need to be seen. They endured, sacrificed, and suffered believing it was love, but in truth, it was fear wearing the mask of affection. The narcissist doesn't appear to destroy, but to reveal limits. They are the one who presses on the wound until we finally ask, when did I start forgetting myself? And it is in that very moment, the moment we see ourselves in our pain, that healing truly begins. One day, when the empath stops trying to fix others, they will realize that not everyone we love is meant to stay. Some people are sent only to illuminate a hidden corner within us before they leave. And the greatest lesson of all is this: real love never requires you to lose yourself. When the heart grows still enough, the universe opens another door. The right person arrives quietly, without drama, without needing to prove anything. There is only peace, mutual respect, and a gaze that makes you feel safe. Between them, there is no battle of egos, only the meeting of two souls who have already learned to stand whole. And if you look back now and ask, why did I have to meet a narcissist? Know this: the universe is never cruel. It teaches only through the language the heart can understand. It wants you to learn boundaries, self-respect, and the art of choosing yourself. Because before you meet the person truly meant for you, you must first learn to stop betraying yourself. The narcissist is simply the final chapter of an old version of you, the moment you step out of illusion and into light. When that door closes, love is not lost. It only changes form from pain to awareness, from attachment to freedom. And when you finally stand on the other side, calm and clear, you will understand the universe never takes anything away without preparing something far more beautiful in its place. After everything, what remains is not the question, why did they do that, but rather, what have I learned from it? The empath, after surviving the storm of a toxic love, comes to understand this: no one can hurt us forever unless we still believe we need them to feel whole. A relationship with a narcissist does not end with a full stop, but with a comma. It opens a new chapter, one where we learn to love without clinging, to trust without controlling, and to give without losing ourselves. We begin to move slower, to feel gratitude even for the things that once caused pain, because only by walking through pain do we truly understand what it means to love with awareness. And one day, when we remember them, there will be no bitterness, no resentment, only a gentle nod. Thank you, for coming into my life and showing me what I had never dared to see. From that moment on, we no longer need to win over anyone or prove our worth. We simply need to be whole, peaceful, and free. Because in the end, healing does not come from finding someone new to love, but from being able to sit alone with ourselves without feeling lonely. When we can do that, the universe will softly whisper, "You are ready." And then, true love will arrive no longer fierce like a storm, but gentle like the wind, subtle yet deep, quiet yet complete.